Welcome to Outside Sales Talk, where we meet with industry experts to learn the strategies and tactics that make them successful. I'm your host, Steve Benson, and I've helped thousands of salespeople all over the world crush their quota. Today, I'll help you crush yours. Welcome back to Outside Sales Talk. Today, we have Max Altschuler on the show. He's going to talk about top sales engagement tactics for outside salespeople. Thanks for showing up here today, Max.
Thanks for having me.
So just for those of you that don't know him already, Max is the founder and CEO of Sales Hacker, the leading community for the next generation of sales professionals. He's the author of Hacking Sales and Career Hacking for Millenials. And Max is also the VP of Marketing at Outreach.io, a sales engagement platform that has been a real rocket ship these past 5 years. Well, let's jump into it. Max, what is sales engagement today, and why is it important for outside sales teams?
Yeah, so I think it's important for inside and outside, kind of anybody selling today, and it is how you engage your prospects and customers. And right now, sales is becoming more of a science than ever before. You're able to test and measure and optimize almost all of your interactions. So whether it's the script that you're using or the email that you're using or how you open or start conversations, everything could be tested and optimized. And so sales engagement platform like Outreach and Sales Engagement, the book we wrote, kind of details a lot around how to go about starting these tests. Because you can, it's like the old expression, like you could give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish and, be able to eat forever, right? So if we just sit here and say one word subject lines is going to get you 87%, better open rate. It's like, all right, but that's like a blanket statement that was based off whoever tested its persona that they were selling to. You don't really know if that's going to work for you. So having these kind of like silver bullet type things doesn't really, that doesn't translate to everybody's sales process versus teaching people how to A/B test, giving them the tools that they need to go out there and run these tests, set up sequences so they know not only what is the right content, but when is the right time to send it, and what channel is the right channel to send it on. So, you could sell in so many different ways today, and the buyer is in so many different places. And so, while you're doing your outside sales process, you should be supplementing that with an inside sale. You should be supplementing that with calls and emails. You should be your marketing team should be supplementing it with, access to intent data. If somebody you are going and selling to that hasn't picked up your call or answered you haven't had face-to-face time with is going to your site, marketing should be able to let you know that. Marketing should be able to retarget them so they keep coming back. All that kind of stuff is just another channel. And so it really is about this omni-channel sales process, multiple channels that you're selling through, and being able to A/B test kind of everything that you do so it every time it's the best thing that you can do. And if you can do that and you really understand it, then you can essentially kind of clone your best reps. And I think everybody would want to be able to clone their best reps, right? If you knew exactly what talk track was going to work for a certain persona, you could have all of your best reps working on that talk track. And you can't optimize something you can't measure. So sales engagement is kind of this modern approach to the science of sales.
Awesome answer. How does sales engagement help salespeople with prospecting and qualifying prospects?
Yeah, so I think it's really just about understanding what the best things you can do possibly are. So when you go into these accounts, you don't have any wasted motions. Your reps could focus solely on selling activities instead of, the mundane tasks, the note taking, the calendaring, everything else. So sales engagement allows them to focus solely on those selling activities, focus solely on the right selling activities so that you can use the insights from the results of those activities. Let's say you send an email and the email is open but not responded to. Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to understand those insights? Say you send a one-to-one personalized video in an email. Wouldn't you want to know that video was watched by the person that received it? And if you did know that, what would you do next? What is your next best action from that trigger? So you get an alert that says, hey, blah, blah, blah prospect just watched your video. From there, it should trigger a phone call, right? So now you know your next best action. So that's how it helps you. It really gives you the insights based on previous activities that you need in order to do that next best action and do it every time.
And how can outside salespeople use multiple channels better to build relationships with prospects?
Yeah. So if they are prospecting, and these are people that they've never met before, then there are plenty of ways that they could supplement what they're doing in outside sales with things that when they get back to their computer or their phone or whatever it is, to get in touch with these prospects, to sell on multiple channels. I'd say most of our listeners are probably on LinkedIn. So that's a channel in which your buyer, they're living on there. So you should be reaching out on LinkedIn as well. If you know that they use email or phone, depends who you're selling to, like you should be reaching out there as well. So for example, if I'm selling to a salesperson or if I'm selling to a CEO, I know that they live out of pocket. I know that they live out of their phones. So I'm probably going to have a much better chance of getting in touch with them if I'm calling them, texting them, or leaving a voicemail than if I'm, I don't know, sending something to their office where they're unlikely to be at, or if I'm sending a personalized one-to-one video that they can only open on like a larger screen. So making sure that you're contacting them in the way that they prefer to be contacted. And if you're running the outside play, you have to supplement what you're doing with all these different things so you can make sure you can get in touch with them and at least kind of set up some kind of a warm meeting.
In what ways do you think sales engagement helps salespeople shorten their sales cycle?
A lot of ways. I mean, if you really know what your next best action is, and you know that you're using the best script, you know that you're using the best content for that persona, then you're actually going to get a reaction. So in a lot of ways, it can help you shorten things immensely. Instead of guessing, blowing the deal, waiting 6 months until they hire somebody new in that role, 18 months, whatever it is, and then going back there and hoping you get a second chance, or I guess a first chance with a new person, or hoping you get a second chance with the old person. You can do the right thing the first time, right? So like that shortens the cycle immensely. I'd say other than that, you're building a rapport in sales, right? It's all step by step. So just like your deal goes by stages, so do your actions to build trust and build rapport with the prospect. So for example, if I'm selling to somebody and I want to invite them to like the Golden State Warriors box seats that we have or something like that, maybe it's a marketing action. We're working together. Hey, we got these box seats. Do you want to come? They come to that. They don't necessarily move to a different stage, but you in like your sales process, but they move to a different stage in the rapport that you're building with them. So whether it's, something expensive like getting them to your box seats at a Warriors game, or, meeting them at an event in your space that you both happen to go to, having a good conversation and like laying that as a seed. It's all just about getting to the next step, the next stage in that relationship, and not being so greedy to say like, all right, I need to move them into an opportunity now, or I need to move them into the next stage of my sales cycle right now, and blowing the whole thing. So, engaging with them, being where they want to be, and doing it over time, and doing it in a intentional and thoughtful way, and moving them throughout your sales cycle in a way that not necessarily going to move them immediately from stage to stage, but is going to make a difference as you continue through your process.
Yeah, I've kind of always, I guess, bucketized the quality of a relationship or the depth of rapport into a couple buckets. Like, they don't really know me. That would be like a one. A two would be if I called them, they would call me back. Like they know me, and we have a level of rapport that it'd be weird if they didn't call me back if I left them a message telling them I had something to talk to them about. And three would be like, it wouldn't be weird if I like texted them or shot them an email and asked them to like grab dinner or a beer or whatever.
We say that at Outreach here, You don't have a champion if you aren't on a texting basis. So like you are not in with a company unless you are on a text basis with the person that is your
Hmm.
champion at the other company.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it's
Um,
another level of that rapport, right? Like you have to feel good enough to be able to text this person, and they're not going to be like, "Why is this person texting me?"
how do you think? And that does make sense. I mean, I'm thinking about like vendors that I work with, or customers that I work with, and like the closest ones. It's like you text people,
Yeah,
So
I think it's it was one of the things like I try to get in the friend zone as fast as possible. Like in dating, you don't want to be in the friend zone, but in business, you want to get to the friend zone as fast as possible. You want like what are the things you can do to build a rapport with a person where you can get to that level as fast as possible. So like if you find somebody who's, let's say, big on LinkedIn, like they like posting a lot, can you engage, like, or as a writer and they write a lot of content on their blog, engage with their content over time, maybe stroke the ego, send them a note, say how much you like their content, like stick out. Eventually you get time with them. Maybe it's at an event, maybe it's just a phone call to like share common knowledge on something. I don't know what it is, but then over time you develop this rapport with somebody where you get into a texting relationship. Like having been doing an independent media company for so long before Outreach, I wasn't selling anybody anything. Like I sold stuff to our partners, but to our audience and our speakers and like really big CROs, I wasn't selling anything to them. So I was able to get into that friend zone a lot faster than I think most people were who are, oh, their guard's up. This guy's selling me something. And now that I'm at a
yeah,
company that sells to these people, it's like, oh, okay, now I have this relationship with a lot of people where I can text them and we have a different level of that relationship right off the bat.
hmm yeah. It is interesting the different types of relationships you can have, and how if and this podcast is a good example of that, right? Like I'm not selling things to like the people that come on the show or to the listeners, right? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
a very different type of relationship, I guess, than I have with a lot of business contacts who like, you know, I am actually selling them software, and it's
Yeah.
just you're in a different bucket, I guess. How do you think outside salespeople should measure the quality of their rapport or measure the quality of their relationship?
I think it's how quick a turnaround do you get when you send them an email or a message or hey, I want to meet. Do you get the meeting? Can you text with them? uh, it's almost like as a salesperson, that's some level of intuition and
Hmm.
just like reading the room. And I hope that all salespeople are good at that, right? Because like otherwise, you probably shouldn't be in sales if you don't know where that line is.
Hmm.
But it's what kind of communications can I have with this person? What can or can I say to this person? Will this person give me intel on their business? I think that's an interesting one. If I reach out and say like, hey, can you like lay out the rest of the org structure for me, help me get in there? Like, are
Hmm.
they going to be like, oh yeah, sure, like I got you? Or are they going to be like, no, like I'm still team company that you're selling to. Like I'm not giving you all that information. Like then you're not in at all. Like you haven't made any inroads.
Yeah,
Um,
I always coach my salespeople who write along those lines. Like, get on the same side of the table with the person that is your sponsor at a company for for our product,
yeah,
because you're on their team, right? Like,
yeah,
you basically work for them, not me. Like
yeah,
they 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 want this because they understand why it's important to their organization and why their organization will benefit, and they'll, because they're the person that brings it in, be the person that politically and career wise benefits. So your job as a salesperson is to help them and enable them to get this done within their organization, and you two are kind of sitting on the same side of the table, strategizing about who do you need to sell this to in the organization? Who holds the purse strings? Who holds the political
yeah,
to get this done? Who does this hurt if we do this? If anyone, and
yeah.
the help. What do you need to sell to each one of those people? Can I have someone on our team, help build an ROI analysis that they can then present to their
Yeah.
CFO, for example. Like, hey, this is worth it because we're going to make this much more money or save this much money, etc.
And you want to sell them on the fact that like, hey, I'm going to make you look good. People buy typically, I think, on like three different levels. Like you have the individual, then the employee, and then the company. So the individual, they want to do what's best for them. They want to do what's going to be able to let them go to like Disneyland or Coachella or wherever they want to go, or pay for their kids' college, whatever it is, like what's going to happen in their personal life. And then the employee, like they want to get the credit. They want to get, they want to get the promotion. They want the trophy or whatever. They want the visibility in their company to say like, hey, like he or she did a really good job. And then there's the company, which is they want to, be more efficient. They want to make more money. They want to lose less money. They want to retain more talent. They want to hire the best people. So you're selling this person, that you're building a rapport with, a relationship with on kind of all three of those levels. Like, hey, I'm going to help you out. I'm on your team. Like you're going to get a raise and a promotion, and like, you're going to be able to like put your kids through college or whatever else. Like these are all kind of like macro thoughts, to have and sell to them, but like, you're really on their side. You're helping them get what they want. And you're getting in that friend zone, right? While you do it.
So what tips do you have for outside sales managers who want to work on building a sales engagement strategy for their team?
Yeah, so this can be done, and it should be done by your individual reps, and there should be time allotted to a lot of these activities. So, I know in certain processes, there's either a time set out in the day or a time in the week that is dedicated to kind of these like inside sales motions that supplement your outside sales motions. So just make sure that you're using a sales engagement platform that can really allow your team to best supplement the outside sales motions that they're doing. So you have a strategy in place, you have multiple channels that they're working, you have sequences that are automated that are already set up so they don't have to sit there and click buttons every time. It automatically goes. If they do meet somebody face to face, they can go right in and say, remove this person from the sequence, so they no longer get other messages. So it's almost like you could think of email sequences as inbox marketing while they're out there, while your marketing team is also supporting them. So there are things that your reps can be doing from a sales engagement perspective while they're out in the field, while your marketing team is supporting them. And these sales engagement, inside sales initiatives are easy. They're automated triggers you can set up, templated emails. I think it's worth, for me, I'm the type of guy who likes, set aside time on a Sunday night or an early Monday morning, get the whole week set up, and then I'm good to go.
Well, I'd love to do some short answer, short question sections with you, a section here with you called Sales in 60 Seconds. So I'm going to ask quick questions, and hopefully the answers are under 60 seconds. Tell me, what's one common mistake salespeople should avoid when it comes to sales engagement?
Oh man, where do I start? One common mistake. Putting too many people into a sequence and like over automating everything. Sometimes I'll see people like they'll put in like, hey, first name, and they won't have like a really clean set of data. And it's like the person's last name, or there's no name at all. And so then like your attempt at personalizing something ends up backfiring big time because it's super automated. Also, if you put too many people into a sequence and then you're sending an automated email out, then it looks like this big blanket marketing automation thing because it's not target enough. It's not specific enough. So that's another one. I'd say that's my 60 seconds right there. Right.
Okay. So, and great answer. So how can salespeople use sales engagement to differentiate themselves from their competitors?
Yeah, I think it's about injecting that science of sales into their sales process. So I don't think most companies are armed with an ability to measure and optimize the things that they're doing. because they don't have a sales engagement platform like outreach, or they don't have a strategy like the one we talk about in our book, Sales Engagement. So they're kind of in the wind. They're stuck, oh, this will work. I'll trust my gut. And your gut's just not good enough anymore. Like, you can actually test and measure the things that you do. Why wouldn't you? And you can't optimize something without measuring it. So it's good you're at a big disadvantage if you're not doing that. I'll say that.
Yeah, and this is definitely a revolution I've seen in sales in the last, I don't know, 5 years. Marketing has been measuring things in this way for a long time. We're
Yeah.
just starting to do this type of measurement in sales in the last 5 years or so, probably. And to a large degree, outside sales teams in particular don't do as much measurement because the people are out in the field. So
Yeah.
a lot of teams are not collecting very much information about what's going on in the field. And, they'll have a CRM and it's sitting on the shelf, or, the reps are taking notes in it at the end of the day, or maybe it's once a week. They're adding their notes for the weekend, or they're not gathering rich, structured and unstructured data from about each meeting that occurs in the field, just because it's too hard with the guys running around. And that's, that's something that we've focused on, is make it, at my day job to make that process easier. Because if it's not getting measured and you're not collecting the information, then you're not able to manage it, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing to manage to.
Yeah.
But that's something that's been happening in marketing, those types of really tight measurements, and figuring things knowing exactly what's going on, what works, what doesn't, and having percentages, and being able to run growth numbers and understand exactly what the details are. That's been happening in marketing for 15 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, what's the top sales advice you think you've ever received?
Oh man. That's a tough one. Top sales advice. Yeah, that's really tough. I'd say the most relevant to me that I've seen from my position right now is that I'm being sold to, and I'm seeing it from a whole different angle. And somebody asked me the other day, an SDR is ramping, they're getting to the end of their onboarding. What's the one thing that they need to know before they finish their onboarding, before they finish ramping? And I really think that people understand their product and they understand their script, but they really don't understand the person that they're selling to, and the plight of the person that they're selling to. Mm-hmm. And you can go so far if you just understand my pain, my day to day. You're selling, I'm a VP of marketing. I got a pretty good budget. If you're selling to me, you should know what I think about. You should know where my pain points are. You should know what my priority list looks like. You should know what my org chart looks like. You should know what my day-to-day looks like, how my time is spent. And if you knew all those things, you'd be much more successful. So I think it's really about understanding the plight and the day-to-day of your ICP, whoever you're selling to, your ideal customer profile, that persona. And if you're saying to yourself, well, how do I do that? Go ask that persona that lives in your organization, if you have one. Follow them. Ask them what their day-to-day looks like, what are their pain points, all that kind of stuff. If not, go find a couple really happy customers and ask them why they bought, and talk to them. And if you don't have those, then go on LinkedIn and see if you can pick some people's brains and ask for advice, not for money. Sometimes you get the opposite, is the old expression, right? So maybe in that case, you might even get a deal out of it. But just say hey, I'm, a new rep to this industry. I'd be super grateful if you give me, some time to help me understand. I just really want to understand, what it is that makes it tick.
Yeah. And it's the little details that people miss. I mean, everyone, I think, feels like they know their customers, but it's do you really know what worries them, what their fears are, what their challenges are, what are their top 3 priorities this year? It's a key part of our sales onboarding training to teach people about our customers and the different groups of people that we interact with in the course of doing business with another company. Like they have to understand not just the field sales rep, or my sales reps need to understand not just the field sales rep, but also what the trainer cares about and how they're measured, how they're, what makes them get a bonus or get fired or get in trouble. Like what
Yep.
the sales operations person, who is that? What do they do? Why is it important? What are they measured on? What do they care about?
Yep.
Why do they seem to care about the CRM so much? The VP of sales, what do they care about? How is it different than the other people? And what makes an outside sales job hard? Like, so we have a ton of training around these different personas that we interact with. And like, we really want our salespeople to understand them, because then when they're talking to the individual customer that they're engaging with, they can better map their message to that person, because they understand the broad things that go on with this individual. And so then when they can customize it to that person's individual situation.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I just ruined our 60 seconds right there with my big
That was
mouth.
good. It was good context. I like it. I think the audience will.
So what do you think the key skills are that outside salespeople need to develop to be successful today?
Building rapport with a person and reading the room is probably two of the most important things for outside salespeople. Again, getting in that friend zone as fast as you can, and making sure you don't blow your first impression. Like, it's one thing to screw it up in like a cold email. It's a much bigger thing to screw it up in person. So you get that face-to-face time. It's super valuable. But you better make the most of it. So, reading the room, understanding your surroundings, understanding kind of your talking points before you get that face-to-face time, doing your research, being organized, being concise. Again, you get that face-to-face time. It's very precious. Don't waste time. Don't talk about the wrong things. You want to be super prepared when you get that time. So I think those are kind of the keys right there. Being super concise, being well prepared, being able to build that rapport.
Fantastic. And given that you're an expert in sales engagement, what would you say your best piece of advice that you would like to give our listeners?
Well, I'd say two things. Your buyers are in more places than ever before. So you need to be focused on multiple channels to access them. And you can't optimize anything unless you measure. So you need to make sure you're measuring as much as you possibly can in the sales process so you can continually optimize and know what's working.
Yeah, I suspect that second one is a message that we'll hear more and more in the next 5 years in this industry. Well, what is the first thing a field salesperson listening today should do to get started in sales engagement?
Yeah, so we just came out with our book called Sales Engagement, and you can get it on Amazon. It's a purple cover, written by Max Altschuler, our CEO, Manny Medina, and our first VP of sales, who's basically here from like zero to 60 plus million in revenue. And kind of just drinking our own champagne. Some of the things we've learned from using our own product, but also the hundreds of millions of sales emails and tens of millions of sales calls that have went out. We've kind of anonymized those and done the research on understanding, kind of the best practices and things like that across the board. So it's really, really good information, great data, and a great resource to kind of learn the 101, 201, and 301 of all things modern sales engagement.
That's fantastic. Well, I always, I've always said eating my own dog food, but I really like drinking our own champagne better. Yeah. It's got such a more positive connotation.
Exactly, right? I want to call our own product dog food. Like, yeah.
Exactly. When I was at Google, they would like put a little dog food bowl on things to indicate to remind us there's some bugs in this, but we're eating our own dog food. Like we're using it. We're using it first. So give the feedback and then put it out to the world.
Yeah, champagne seems a little bit little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Well, I'm going to do my best to summarize the wisdom that you've dropped on us today here. So, first of all, sales engagement is how you engage your prospects and customers. Sales is becoming more of a science every day, from the pitch you're giving to the emails you send. Uh, Instead of having a general best practices guide, training each salesperson to test or how to test what works, how to find out what the best content is, when the best time is to deliver that content, what the best platform to send it on. That will help salespeople close more deals. So really, teach them to fish. Don't just give them a fish. So give them the tools like A/B testing and the kind of the mental way of thinking about those types of things will help them be better at what they're doing. Sales engagement, it helps salespeople focus on the best selling activities. Understanding if emails were opened, whether a video was watched or not, and really all these little signals that a prospect is showing interest. A great program can help your salespeople zoom in and focus on those prospects that are showing that interest, and focus on them. Outside salespeople can use sales engagement to help them with their field prospecting as well. They can follow up with different channels to make sure they can get in touch with their prospects in the best way, and what the best way even is to kind of keep the conversation going when they're not right in front of the prospect. You can continue engaging with your prospects through those channels that are working with that certain prospect, and you can build the relationship up and find yourself in the friend zone. And that's Max defined that as when you're in a text messaging basis with them. And that once you're in the friend zone, that can help convert a prospect into a customer. You can
Yeah.
measure the quality of a relationship with a prospect or customer by the level of communication. How fast do they respond to you when you reach out? How willing are they to share information about their company? Are you on the same side of the table? You really want to build that engagement with the prospect to be on the same team. Establish a strategy within your company for engaging with prospects across many channels. Outside sales teams can use sales engagement platforms to help them automate email follow-ups sorry, I'm choking on my coffee here. Help they can automate email follow-ups and automate and then automate things that to better engage their customers while in an automated fashion. So while they're out in the field, these things are happening automatically. Emails are going out automatically, etc. Buyers are in multiple channels today, so salespeople must also be in these channels to contact prospects. Measure the results of varying sales engagement with prospects and understanding which channels and ways of contacting people work in order to close more deals. So that was really fantastic, Max. Where can listeners read more about your work? Where can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So ping me on LinkedIn. That's the best place to get in touch with me. For the book, it's called Sales Engagement, and it's on Amazon now. And then if you want to learn more about Outreach, it's outreach.io, the leading sales engagement platform that could help you do all of this. But I highly recommend getting the book, reading through that. Let me know if you have any questions on LinkedIn. And then also Sales Hacker is our online publication. We've got about 114,000 subscribers, all B2B salespeople. So a whole other level of educational resources there for anyone in sales.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, Max. This has been a great episode of the Outside Sales Talk. If anyone listening can think of other sales reps that would benefit from learning these skills that we talked about today, share the love and forward this on to them. Take care until next time.